I've recently had a few people ask me about how to get into voice acting, and while there's a bunch of resources online, I wanted to make this video and share my perspective. My name is Maihan, and I'm obviously in VTuber mode right now, but I'm also a voice actor for primarily video games with some experience in dubbing for anime, live action shows, and some pre-lay animation as well. There are definitely more established and experienced actors out there that may have better advice, but as someone who works in game production, who also organizes and creates voice acting programs for people in addition to having credited professional work, I feel like I might say something that may be helpful for someone out there for the cost of free $99. But as I always say, take what works, leave what doesn't. My experience is primarily in video games, so a lot of this video is me talking about that. I got my start when I used to work full-time doing event planning for huge conventions, and I've even helped establish some popular ones in SoCal that people still attend after graduating with a bachelor's degree in business and 2 minor degrees in computer science and Japanese language. There, I got connected to some voice actors, got interested in it, took a class, fell in love, and the rest is history. Or that's what I tell people. While all of that is true, I did have a dream to be an actor when I was in middle school, but thinking about it is embarrassing and I don't often bring it up. Plus, like a lot of people of my background, it wasn't something that I could easily pursue, so I never did until I started working, making my own money and my own decisions. I did follow the cosplayer to Twitch streamer to voice actor to VTuber pipeline, and I think there's something to be said about performing or playing a character in those spaces, or maybe that's something to unpack in therapy. Anyways, let's get into it. Like I said, the first thing I did was take a voice acting class. This was in person right before the COVID lockdowns, and I think if you ask a lot of professional actors, they'll strongly recommend an in-person acting program and the like to start off with. Not necessarily voice acting class, because keep in mind, voice acting is acting. Now, this is where I'll take the time to say that no path is the same for everyone. There isn't a formula to follow. There's a lot of people who started off acting in online spaces without formal training. However, learning from reputable sources will only ever benefit you. And a misconception about voice acting is that it's all about the voice. While yes, the voice is a huge aspect of it, the truth is, a lot of us kind of sound the same or have the ability to fit into specific character tropes. So it will more often than not come down to the stronger actor. You have actors like Fred Tatasciore and D. Bradley Baker who can sound like everyone and everything ever. And then you have actors like Yuri Lowenthal and Johnny Young Bosch who have really recognizable voices. But they're all phenomenal actors because they focus on the acting. Obviously, there's a different conversation regarding influencers and star power, but that's not what this video is about. So, just in case people have concerns about gatekeeping, that's not what's happening here. Someone telling you to learn, either online or in person, will only benefit you. Taking formal classes will only benefit you. But I'm not saying you have to do that, it's just highly recommended. But what if you can't afford it? My recommendation for that is community college, cheap classes, and workout groups. Voice acting can, unfortunately, get pretty expensive, and you may not see a return on your investments until years later. Just remember to vet your teachers and coaches. During COVID, a lot of people turn to coaching who may not be the best coach. Some people may be great actors, but not great educators. One extremely popular role may not be the best indicator of a great coach, and the opposite may be true too. Have they worked on one thing, several things across different studios? Are they a principal actor or a utility player? Are they solely an actor? Are they also a director? Are they also a casting director? Are the projects they worked on considered professional? There are people who will cast one indie project and then consider themselves ready to coach, and that can be a red flag. Do they operate through a company, or are you contacting them directly? I like taking classes through companies and organizations because there's an extra layer of safety there. If I feel like the coach has put me in danger in any way, I can go through the company for help. But there's also great educators who do run their own programs directly. Just take a moment to assess your coach and maybe ask if others have taken their class as well. And just be practical about it. You want to be safe and you want the coach to feel safe too. That being said, don't buy expensive equipment when you're starting out. For me, I booked some really big union projects off of a $200 mic that I was using for Twitch streaming when I streamed on a different channel. But I made the switch to a $1,500 mic when I was forced to by the agent that I had at the time. And more importantly than the mic is the space you record in. You don't need a studio bricks or a whisper room when you start out. I still don't have one of those. But I will say, if you're not in the big hubs like LA, Texas, or New York, you'll likely need a professional quality at-home studio down the line. It will just make things easier. There are studios out there that you can find, or depending on the project, they might have you fly out, but having a home studio is beneficial, but just don't invest so much in it at the start. This can all be a separate video if anyone's interested, but What happened? Did you fall? My cat fell. But I also live in LA, and I think there's other people more qualified to talk about remote recording than me. But to reiterate, if you're starting out or you have an interest in acting, please do not buy expensive equipment or an expensive booth or make an expensive demo just yet. Don't do that yet. By the way, you don't need an agent to start acting. An agent only helps you, but you still have to do the majority of the work in finding either your own projects or investing in your own career. You also shouldn't get a demo when you're starting out. Demos can cost a lot, but your skills will improve very, very quickly the more you train. So a demo made too soon will also get outdated very quickly. So for me, I took a bunch of classes, got connected with a bunch of actors, directors, casting directors, and even started working for a company that specializes in video game production, including dialogue recording. In fact, I still work there. I personally don't recommend quitting your day job for voice acting either, not until you can guarantee an income that is comfortable for you, because the truth is, voice acting is very unstable. Some people will book 20 projects a month and then 0 projects the next month. Actors typically supplement their work with audio book work or other full-time jobs as well. Even the most prolific voice actors I know have secondary jobs or other businesses that they tend to. I've learned to balance my 9 to 5 while submitting auditions and going through recording sessions, but I also recognize that some people have jobs or situations that make balancing all that super challenging. So just keep that in mind. Voice acting also has its slow periods as well. There was a video game voice acting strike recently as a recording of this video that made things much more scarce. That's just to show you examples that there's just a lot of uncertainty and very few can afford healthcare or other benefits you would otherwise have working full-time at another company. This is just something that I want everyone to keep in mind because there's a misconception that all voice actors are out there making millions, which is not true. Regarding money in voice acting, it is pretty common for commercial voice acting to pay the most. Sometimes it's in the thousands and sometimes super frequently depending on how often the commercial airs and where it airs. Video games typically have a standard rate and no residuals. With something that is non-union, the standard is $2.50 per hour with a 2-hour minimum, which means that even if you go in to record for only an hour, you're guaranteed the 2-hour pay. A lot of people don't like it when actors accept rates below that because they feel like that it can undermine actors and encourage companies to pay below the minimum, which is something that does happen, and I'm just telling you so you're aware of that. Union games have a different rate. Anime and dubbing often pays the least out of what I mentioned before, and that's because it's generally the budget for the production doesn't include dubbing in other languages. There's a reason why people want to book anime characters so that they can make money at conventions, but that's a different conversation and I'm not going to get into that here. There's all forms of voice acting, including audio description, audio books, toys, theme parks, educational materials, etc. Some people do it all, some people don't. And everything I said before, I wasn't really including small indie titles, passion projects, or student projects. And there's actually a really cool resource online with recommended rates for all of that. So back to how I got into the biz. Through my work and my connections, I got more training at studios in front of the right people, and then I got good enough to where the decision makers started to take notice and say things like, oh, I know someone who can play this character, and they would either send me an audition or auto-cast me. Auto-casting is when they select you as the voice for the character without an audition, and it happens most times because of time. If the project needs a quick turnaround and they know you're reliable, or if they already know your work and know you can do it and you fit the character well enough. That being all said, be reliable. Voicing a character is one small part of a whole project. In fact, so many of our favorite games like Undertale or the original Final Fantasy VII didn't have voice acting. You don't need voice acting to make a good game that people love. But I believe voice acting does enhance a game and can often be my favorite part of the game. But I say all this to kind of encourage people to be grateful to be a part of their projects that they're a part of. And I do warn against people making claims that they own any part of the project, including owning the character. Characters have their own writers and have seen many different iterations before it even gets to the actor. Replacements, recasting, all that happens all the time. And so we just need to approach these things with a lot of gratitude, I think. So, That was a very, very winded way of saying I got my start for putting myself in the right places. I got training, I showed up, did the work, proved myself, put myself out there, and got noticed. All of this is hard work and a little bit of luck. Not everything was easy, at least not for me. I've had bad instructors, bad directors, and experiences, but I've also had many more great ones. And the great thing about voice acting is that it is learnable. And if you want to get into it, you just have to be willing to learn, willing to take criticism, willing to take direction, leave your ego at the door, and be a team player. I do also want to take this time to talk about social media's role in all this. I don't believe you need a strong social media presence most of the time to book characters, but you do need a clean one. And what I mean by that is that you're going to get booked off your auditions more often than your follower count. A lot of casting directors don't typically care about if you post role announcement over after role announcement, so I wouldn't stress about needing to fill your feed with that. What they do care, though, is if your online posts are controversial, super alarming, if you're extremely combative, if you've broken NDA, things like that. Because why would any company want to hire someone who would be a liability for their company or their project? So, that boils down to touching grass is good, practicing gratitude is good, social media isn't everything, and just be a genuine good person. Just because you have a good voice doesn't mean you'll be a good actor, and just because you like anime also doesn't mean you'll be a good actor, but all of that can help you be a better actor. To me, acting isn't about putting on a voice and calling it a day. For me, it's about being a sort of conduit between the character and those experiences that you have that align with that character. And how effectively you can do that can only be improved with training and practice. All of this sounded way more preachy than it was about my journey into things, but I do hope it helps regardless. If anyone wants more specifics on anything, I can get into that too. Just let me know. Again, take everything I say with a grain of salt. If there's something that resonates with you, if not, leave it. Half of this is my journey and half of this is just me, like my advice. And I hope this helps somebody.